Good day everyone. So we will be discussing about lesson 1, the meaning of human act. These are the contents that we will discuss in our report. What is human act? Difference between act of human versus human act. Determinants of morality of human act. The object of the act. The end of purpose. Its circumstances. Text.
What is human act? A human act is an action that is considered to be carried out voluntarily, whereas an act of man is an involuntary action. It is an act on which an individual can make a conscious decision whether or not to carry out that act. An act of man is the natural act of vegetative and sense faculties, such as digestion, the beating of the heart, growing, bodily reactions, and visual or auditory perceptions. But according to Father Coffins, human acts are those of which a man is master, which he has the power of doing or not doing as he pleases. On the other hand, according to Panizo, human acts are those acts which proceed from man as a rational being. That means, humans have a mastery over their actions and decisions. In other words, human acts are the acts of a moral agent. These actions are performed by individuals who possess the capacity for moral reasoning, decision-making, and accountability. Next reporter, please.
Now let's go to the difference between act of man and human act. First, we have act of man. These are involuntary actions, meaning not controlled by our will. Automatic responses, for example, mag-breathe kita, mag-blink kita sa eyes natin, and perspiring. Reflexes, and then these are unconscious actions like sleepwalking, nananadaman ka, actions by insane persons, infants, or those physically forced. And act of man has no moral responsibility attached. So sa madaling salita, act of man refers to actions that is accidental or involuntary acts. For examples, we have, as said kagina, breathing, ang aton nga heartbeat, ang pag-digest naton, ang pag-sneeze naton, and also reflex actions. Another example to that is araw ang natumba ka sa hagdanan, nabunggo mo ang lamisa, nabunggo mo ang bangko. So, ang act of man is hindi mo siya sala o hindi siya responsibilidad sa tao, which means accidentally lang siya natabo or hindi mo gid sinadya. Next is the human act. Human act are voluntary actions naman and controlled by our will. Kagina, ang act of man is involuntary actions. Now naman niya, ang human act is voluntary actions. So, kontrolado mo naman ni siya. Human act also includes rational decisions. For example, mag-study ka sa exam or magbuli ka sa iban. Also, conscious choices. Mag-ubra ka sa decision, mag-set ka sa goals, and also actions proceeding from reason and free will, meaning may rason siya. For example, mag-engage ka sa hobbies nga gusto mo. Also, kagina, ang act of man is wala sa moral responsibility. Now naman niya, ang human act is opposite, which is meron siyang moral responsibility. So again, maghambal kita nga act of man. This refers to accidental or involuntary acts. And maghambal naman kita yung human act. This refers naman sa intentional or voluntary actions. And sa act of man, no moral responsibility attached. And sa human act is merong moral responsibility attached. So, opposite lang gid sila nga duwa.
So let's proceed in determinants of morality of human act. The three determinants are the object of the act. Example, what is being done? The end or purpose. Example is the intention behind the act. Lastly, the circumstances is the context or situation surrounding the act. Next, the object of the act. Object of an act is essentially the act itself, what is done. The object and the act are inseparable as acting involves doing something which constitutes the object of the act. For example, the object is specific action or outcome being carried out. Specification of acts. Acts can be further specified by intention or context. Going to church, praising God, or eating meat. For example, acts can be specified by their intention or context, which clarifies the purpose behind the action. Let's continue on moral classification of acts. An act in itself can be good, bad, or indifferent. For a human act to be morally good, the object, the act, or its further specification must be free from defects inherently good or different. For example, moral classification of acts are categorized actions as good, bad, or indifferent based on their nature. For an act to be morally good, its object, the action itself, must be inherently good or indifferent and free from defects, aligning with the intention and circumstances of the person performing it. So, it depends on person how she or he performing it. So these are the examples of good act. First, using God's name with reverence. Second, sincerely invoking God or saints. Third, honoring parents. Fourth, attending Mass on obligatory days. Fifth, saving lives. Sixth, respecting others' rights and property. Seventh, maintaining purity in thoughts and actions. Eighth, staying true to marital commitments. 9. Telling the truth. So, sa ginatag naman may example of good act, ang mahambal ko lang sa pinakalas is, yan, telling the truth is, amo na siyang pinakahapos, mahambalon, pero budlay o brown. Right? So, next proceed on the next reporter.
The end or the purpose is the intention of the acting subject or what inspired the acting subject. The first instance is immoral, while the second is moral. The guiding rules is the end does not justify the means. For example, Robin Hood robbed the rich and distributed the money to the poor. No matter how noble Robin Hood's intention was for robbing the rich, his act of robbing the rich is not morally acceptable. Even he distributed to the money to the poor. This example, it pertains to the object, but the end of the workman or agent, no matter how good the object of an act may be if the end intended is still bad. The circumstances. The circumstances, including the consequences, refer to the time, place, person, and conditions surrounding the moral act. They either increased or diminished the moral goodness or evil of human act. For example, it is good to give drink to the thirsty, but if the thirsty man is morally weak and the drink is intoxicating, the act may be evil. The moral character of an act may so affect by the circumstances that an act good itself may be evil when accompanied by certain circumstances.
So that will be the end of the lesson 1. Thank you for listening, everyone.